Suspension of disbelief is key to making a movie immersive. If done right, you shouldn't even notice that you're watching something that's completely made up. So that's why when a movie fails to suspend your disbelief, it can yank you right out of that movie. One example of a good movie that fails to suspend my disbelief is 2013's Gravity. Now don't get me wrong, there's a lot to like about this movie. Visually it's stunning, it's well acted and well written, but when Sandra Bullock is just thrown from a satellite and then floats over to the International Space Station, I just can't take that seriously. Gravity opens with a group of American astronauts repairing the Hubble Space Telescope. And, aside from being in space, above Earth, that setting is kind of mundane. It all takes place in the here and now. And as a result, we're not asked to suspend our disbelief from the get-go. But after about 10 minutes, we are asked to believe that somebody can be thrown from a satellite, float to the International Space Station, grab a Soyuz spacecraft, float to the Chinese space station so that they can make it back home in one piece.
Explorer's been hit. Astronaut is off structure. Dr. Stone is off structure. Dr. Stone, detach. You must detach. If you don't detach that arm's going to carry you too far. Listen to my voice. You need to focus. I'm losing visual of you. In a few seconds, I won't be able to track you. You need to detach. I can't see you anymore. Do it now. Houston, I've lost visual of Dr. Stone. Houston, I've lost visual of Dr. Stone.
But unlike the interior of a black hole, I can easily look it up and find out that the International Space Station, the Chinese Space Station, and the Hubble Space Telescope are nowhere near each other. Now, all of these scenarios could have been easily justified had they just taken place, in the orbit of Mars, for example. Who knows what future humans could do? It's very possible that in the future we could have two space stations floating, within walking distance from each other. But Gravity didn't take the time to do that. They decided to go with the Hubble Space Telescope, the International Space Station, and the Chinese Space Station. In order to suspend our disbelief in a film, it's very important to set up a world that allows us to accept whatever is thrown at us. Gravity fails to do this because in our universe, we know that it's not possible to float from the Hubble Space Telescope to the International Space Station. For a good example of a movie that does this really, really well, we're going to look at Interstellar. In Interstellar, the movie opens with Earth and humanity in decline. The world is ravaged by a mysterious disease called the Blight. The Blight has been killing different types of crops, causing humanity to fall in a sort of dark age. Science has been shunned and blamed for the current state of affairs. Our protagonist, Cooper, is experiencing some odd phenomenons in and around their home. One day, Cooper, who is an ex-pilot, has a run-in with the remnants of NASA, who explain to him that they have found a wormhole in our solar system that leads to an unknown and faraway place in the universe. They recruit Cooper to pilot a mission into a wormhole to investigate potentially habitable planets that may serve as a refuge for humanity. Toward the end of the movie, Cooper's ship is damaged and is falling into a black hole. In order to save the last crewmate and the seeds of humanity, Cooper sacrifices himself and tumbles into the black hole. Inside, he finds he is able to view space-time in a way that no human has before, and using gravity is able to communicate with his daughter in the past, giving her the necessary information to crack a math problem that will save humanity. Interstellar is accurate at every possible point in the film. In fact, it was so accurate that it created the most accurate visualization of a black hole that we've ever seen. However, the movie starts with asking us to believe that our future could include massive crop death and a second dust bowl. This sets the scene for us later to accept that a wormhole, a theoretical natural phenomenon, might exist in our solar system, which in turn sets us up to prepare us for whatever the writer wants to tell us about what it's like on the inside of a black hole. Interstellar used what we know in science to make an accurate film. But once we reached the edge of that knowledge, the writer told us what it was like inside of a black hole using imagination. Setting us up in a world whose premise is not based in reality is the reason why we can watch a movie about a boy who goes to a magical school, superpowered people fighting intergalactic criminals, giant monster fights, space wizards who fight with glowing swords, and even thieves who enter your dreams to steal knowledge. Some of these films are so outside of reality that it doesn't even matter what happens in the film. You'll accept whatever it is that those writers want to tell you. But in my opinion, the best of these films are ones that straddle that line between belief and disbelief to tell a story that we can just barely believe while keeping us in a world that we know and love. Take Interstellar's black hole, for example. We have no idea what it's like on the inside of a black hole. In all likelihood, if somebody were to enter one, they would be torn apart. But since we can't see past the event horizon, there is a possibility that somebody could enter and live. Cooper's journey into the black hole is where our science ends and our imagination begins. In that sense, the writer doesn't have to spend time convincing us to forget what we already know so that we can accept the writer's version of reality. Now, for some, this might not be an issue. And you know what? I get it. Sometimes we just want to sit down and watch a mind-blowing movie about getting tossed around in space. So what do you guys think? Am I being too hard on Gravity? Let me know down in the comments, and we'll see you next time.